Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Today we're chatting to Louise, aka Style Reclaim on the socials. Lou has only recently started reselling as a business, but almost didn't start at all. Anxiety, fear, self-doubt took over about whether she could do it, manage the finances, family balance, submitting taxes, all that kind of stuff. But she did it anyway, and now is looking forward to growing with more optimism and confidence. So let's chat about it. Maybe you're in the same situation. Hey, I'm Car Boot Chris. I'm a full-time UK online reseller. I operate mainly on eBay and also Whatnot, but also some other platforms as well. I'm going to bring you regular podcasts all about reselling, hopefully to keep you company, to entertain, or maybe to educate. Who knows? Welcome to the Everything Reselling podcast. Welcome back, everybody. It is Series 5, Episode 6 of the Everything Reselling podcast. And before we start, I'll just let you know that if you are listening to this on the, the rewind or the playback over on one of the audio channels like Spotify, Apple Music or Amazon, then please hit that download button, because that's a really important one for me. It kind of gives an indication of how well a podcast is doing. So it's a bit like subscribing on YouTube. Hit the download button on the audio. That would be much appreciated. And you'll be presented with every new episode that pops up. And we're doing one a week. We're into Series 5. So yeah, we're going good guns. Before we start today's episode, I'm going to give you a few words from or about our sponsor, Fleek, for the Series 5 of the podcast. Really appreciate the sponsorship. It helps us run the channel, helps us run the podcasts, because it's not free for me to do these podcasts. So here we go. A big thank you to Fleek, also known as Join Fleek, who are sponsoring the podcast for this series. So thank you so much for that. Fleek are an online marketplace where wholesalers can sell their job lots, bundles and bales of wholesale vintage clothing. Just like eBay is a marketplace for people like me to sell new and pre-owned goods, Fleek is a marketplace for people who sell wholesale vintage clothing from around the world. A couple of little tips from me for buying from Fleek. Well, firstly, have a look at the listings, and I always try to buy from someone who has a video on the listing, but the video is the actual items for sale, not a representative. Some will say this is a representative, some will say these are the actual items. I always go for the actual items. Try and buy from people in Pakistan or India, and that is because there'll be no import charges and the shipping is included. You can also do a video handpick. If you contact a supplier, tell them what you're looking for, you can do a video handpick. If you do decide to buy from Fleek, I can give you a code that will give you £26 off your order. The code's in the description below of both the podcast and on YouTube, and you can see it on screen right now. And thank you again for Fleek for sponsoring the podcast. So let's get on with today's episode, and we're going to bring Lou on, or aka Louise, or Style Reclaim, or Little Steve's other half. All right.
Hello, you all right?
How are you doing?
I just chuckled to myself when you said Little Steve's other half. Little Steve's better half.
Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, definitely. I hope you're okay, and thank you so much for coming on.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm okay. Had a good day.
Good. Do you want to start by giving a bit of an intro to yourself, what you do and stuff?
Yeah, so by day, I am a manager in a place I won't plug, obviously. By night, I am a reseller. Predominantly, I sell on
What
eBay.
are you reselling at night?
What am I reselling? Nothing touchy. So yeah, by night resell on Whatnot, Vinted or eBay. Besides that, obviously a mother and studying a master's, so lots of things that I get on with. Yeah,
that's a lot. You've got a lot on your plate there, haven't you?
It is, but I think I just like being a busybody. I just like being incredibly busy, and if I sit down for too long, although my other half will disagree clearly, if I sit down for too long I get bored, and most of the times I get ill, so I need to be busy.
Do you not just like just sitting down, putting your feet up and putting Netflix on or something like that?
Yes and no. In the evenings, kind of, yeah, but not really. I'll watch a bit of murder documentaries, and then I'll get bored, and I'll get up and do something.
She watches bloody murder stuff all the time. I'm surprised I'm still here.
Yeah, I say the same thing about Steve, to be fair.
When did you start reselling? Like, when did you first sort of think, let's start selling stuff to make a profit?
First of all, we started, I think, just with odds and sods around the house. God, it was I've got to say, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and it was after he'd watched one of your podcasts, one of your YouTube videos, and he kind of got, this looks interesting, this looks doable, and I was like, I'm not interested. If you want to do that, go ahead. So he experimented with the odd thing, like a Winnie the Pooh mug. And when you heard the ka-ching, you got excited. It might have been a £4 sale, but it didn't matter. And I was also getting excited about every time we got a ka-ching. I was like, oh, what, you've got money? It's only so he'd stop asking me for some more than anything. But sorry, Steve. So, yeah, that kind of piqued the interest, and it was experimenting with things. And then officially I thought, right, okay, I really want to give this a proper go, and between us, I'm the one that's more likely to probably have the courage to set up the business and go from there. So it was July of last year we officially created Star Reclaim, or registered Star Reclaim, and went from there. That's when we went business wise.
Pretty recent then, really, isn't it? It's interesting how Steve, your husband, for anybody listening who don't know who little Steve is, Steve's your husband. It's interesting how he started selling a few bits. You weren't interested, but then all of a sudden you kind of drifted into it, and now you're actually the lead in the business. Is that fair to say that that is the case?
Yeah, I think that's you, Oliver Ian. Yeah. Yes and no. I think we go into it more almost like a 50-50. I'll say 60% of the effort is Steve. I've got to be honest, I've got to admit that. But that's from a sourcing point of view. But it's because he has a phenomenal amount of knowledge that I don't know how he does it. So I'm really good at the female brands and knowing the female brands, obviously. And he's really good at spotting the football shirts, the single stitch vintage tees, the retro toys, gaming, obviously, clearly DVDs. And he has a phenomenal amount of knowledge, and I think I would be stupid not to, I want to say, exploit that, because part of me does exploit him, but then he does get treated. So he gets paid, but just not money. I'm not putting him on the payroll.
Hang on a minute. This doesn't seem fair to me. Steve gets to do the fun bit, which goes out. He goes out and just buys and buys and buys, which is what he's done for years as like a collector, or some people would call it hoarding. Now, he's done that for years, and now he gets to do it and give the stuff to you to sell. But you do the hard bit. You do a lot of the selling. You do the listing. You do the taxes. You do the nasty stuff. So, are you okay with that balance?
Yes, and he's in the comments. I can see him. And I'll tell you why. And we figured this out a while ago. Steve is a doer. I'm a thinker. Steve, he will go ahead and do, like the other week, he heard me say, I would like black banisters, and I think black edging against a white hallway would look great. I come home from work one day, he's done it. He's not consulted, he's just gone and done. He's very good at just going ahead and doing. I like the planning, I like the forecasting, I like working out the cost per unit. I don't like taxes, I'm not going to lie, but I seem to be all right at them. So, and I have a handle on what the budgets are and where I'm at with profits or losses each month. And I like to look at my nets each month and say, okay, we really need to push harder this month to counter that. And I talk a lot, so it makes sense to put me in front of a camera when I talk a lot.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a good balance. It probably doesn't seem fair, but I do a little bit of pickups myself because I simply just can't help myself, I'll be honest.
Yeah. No, to be fair, it does sound like a good balance, doesn't it? If everyone's got different roles and you seem to have figured out that, early doors that, Steve's good at finding the stuff and you're good at, trying to sell it. And that kind of makes sense that you structure yourself like that. So what actually motivates you to do the reselling, to give up your evenings? You both work full time, to give up your evenings to do this stuff. What's the aim of it?
So I've got a long-term goal and then a longer-term goal. So my long-term goal is I want to get it to a point where Steve could fully take over the reselling aspect and do it full-time. I'd like to take him out of his current job. He enjoys his current job and he's very good with people management, but I'd love to take him out of that and do something that he really gets a kick out of. And he really does love finding these hidden gems, like the ugly shirts that you may have seen us advertising or wearing. He won't part with them, but you get them for £1 and they would sell for £30 to £60. So he gets a real buzz and that dopamine hit from it. And I think sometimes you need it when you're neurodiverse. You need that dopamine hit. So that's like the long-term goal. The longer-term goal is alongside that, in a separate business, I want to set up a management consultancy firm, which is why I'm doing the masters. So I'll take that. And it's to support neurodiverse managers or people who want to become management, who just simply can't find the development in the workplace. Is quite, in most workplaces I've experienced, is quite judgmental because they look at what you can't do rather than what you can do. And so I'll have that consultancy business. He'll have the control of the reselling, not fully. Obviously, I'll maintain a majority share of that.
Keep him on a leash.
Exactly, yeah. But he didn't know that bit, so you're welcome, Steve. And the future goal is for Leo to be able to participate and have a way into the working world and have a very good understanding of money management and set himself up for success, because our biggest fear is that with his level of autism, we don't know what the future holds for him or whether he will be employable. So we want to teach him the self-sufficient route. And that's kind of the motivation behind it as well, is provide for Leo and help him help himself in the future.
That's interesting. It's interesting to hear what your plans are. You've just touched on something that we might as well go into now. So your family, you have to deal with, you're affected by every day, autism within the whole family, isn't there? All yourself, Steve, and Leo.
Yeah.
So how does that affect your daily life, and also how does it affect your reselling?
Also, it's hilarious sometimes. It's a nightmare in others. I'm not going to lie. All three of us are autistic and ADHD. And he's just locked the door now because Leo was trying to get in the room. And on top of that, I have imposter syndrome. So Steve, he loves the dopamine hit of buying, doesn't necessarily like the dopamine hit of selling, or he might freeze in front of a camera or get very uncomfortable, or he likes the ka-ching, don't get me wrong, but parting with it once he's bought it is like trying to take an Easter egg off my child. It's very difficult. So that's where he it affects him. I love kind of buying the stuff, but I fret over creating new relationships with suppliers. I fret over whether I can trust that supplier, whether the stock comes and I know I can account for 10% being a write-off, but the rest of the stock should be good. So if I get a 40 kilo, I know 4 kilo is possibly going to be a write-off or a fake, and the rest should be good. But if it goes over that, my trust with that supplier is broken from my point of view. So it's very hard to kind of then go into it and trust it again. And with the imposter syndrome side, it's very much if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, a lot of people will suffer with it at least once in their lifetime. I have it as I've had it since I was 9 years old as an ongoing case, which is quite rare to have it as a permanent feature for that amount of time. And it's the little voice in your head that just when you wake up, you just go, you didn't do enough, you're failing your business, you're terrible at this, you should just give up. And it's not, it's very similar to depression, but it's just the negative thoughts. But I have to then counter that negative thought with, I might have failed it today, doesn't mean I'll fail it tomorrow. And I have to work 3 times as hard to kind of turn it around, if that makes sense. If I have a bad show on Whatnot, I really take it to heart and I think, is it me? Is it the stock? Is it the trends? Is it the audience? Have I not got enough followers? And I question every little detail. And the great thing about having Steve alongside me when I do these shows is that he will say, it's just a bad show. We just shake it off and we move on. And luckily those shows have been few and far between, but I still will criticize every show that I've done. And he was always there to say, let's have a cup of tea, let's think about it another day. And he knows then I'll forget about it until 3 weeks later.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about those sort of conditions or the things that you have to live with. Because I didn't really know what imposter syndrome was. So, you've taught me something there. And I guess you're right. We probably all do get a little bit of that now and again, but it sounds like you have it, a bit more severe. Because sometimes I come off a Whatnot show and I think, bloody hell, what did I do wrong there? But that's maybe just a one-off, bit of it's been a bad show. But I could appreciate that being really hard to sort of deal with, on a daily basis, or a weekly basis, or even a regular thing, because it would probably really get you down, wouldn't it? And does it prevent you, when you get into that frame of mind, does it prevent you getting stuff done, or do you go the opposite way and force yourself to try and overcome it?
I've got it both, if I'm honest. So it doesn't just stop at reselling. It's in every aspect. So once it starts, it snowballs and it's on a daily basis. So it could be with Leo. Am I doing enough? Am I parenting him right? Oh my God, he's on his iPad again. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm failing him as a parent. I should spend more time with him. He doesn't want more time with you. He wants to be. He also has pathological demand avoidance. I also have a form of pathological demand avoidance, which means that if you say, no, I'm out, that's it, it's not happening. And if that kicks in, you could give me £1 million and I will turn you down instantly. There's no motivator. There's no getting up and through that. So you've just got to work through the no, and you lose interest in everything. So you just got to work through that no. When I get the little down moments where I feel it's recoverable, it's hard to explain because it's I know when it's recoverable and when it's not in that moment. I know that I can do it may have been a bad show, but you held 30 people in a room for 4 hours and there's people on the streams that will only hold 17, maybe 10. And it's not bad compared to other shows that you've done. When I think when I first started doing cosmetics, I did a 2-hour show and did £18 and I came off, I was absolutely devastated. But then I countered with, it's a new category you're trying to break. You're not known for cosmetics, you're known for men's clothing. So why would you expect this to go down well with your audience who loves men's clothing? They're not going to go, oh yeah, well, all of a sudden I want eyeshadows and lipsticks. And so it's that logic that I got to work through the logic to make it work, if that makes sense. Hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But it's amazing what you do, because considering you're battling with these things that you live with every day, you put yourself in front of a Whatnot camera, and that's hard enough for a lot of people. That's difficult. You come on YouTube, you're here with me talking on this podcast. You've started up your eBay, stuff. You put yourself out there, and that's impressive considering what you have to deal with. You got all your family stuff going on. You got Leo to look after, and this is like what the title of this podcast was. It was about overcoming these anxieties and fears and self-doubt, and you've kind of gone through and explained sort of the way in which you try and battle that, and it is pretty amazing, to be honest with you, that you can get through that on a daily basis.
I think I have this, when I first started, before I wanted to start, I had the same kind of anxieties and questions as everybody else does, really, as in, I'm worried about taxes. Am I going to pay too much? And how do I do it? And where do I source the stock from? And the usual concerns that you have about starting up a business. But then then added the pressure of, right, well, now you're going to have to look at things like business insurance. You're going to have to turn the eBay into a shop. You're going to have to do a minimum value per month. What if you don't make that minimum value? It's going to have to come out of pocket. And having to remember that as a sole trader, the business and I are the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it comes out of my pocket or not. It's still the same. Whereas my brain is not capable of thinking in that way sometimes. It just goes business and I. And it always thinks business, business, business. And sometimes at my own detriment, like when I'm trying to buy a new washing machine because I've washed that many clothes on a weekly basis for the business, that I could take it out of business funds. Whereas I think, no, it's my responsibility because I'm going to use it for personal use as well. You see, so I have to battle my brain and find that leverage and go, it makes sense. You have to make it make sense in the end.
Yeah.
So I have the same anxieties as everybody else. It's just there's the little spicy part of my brain that makes me worry more.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of amplified? You think, like, because I worry about certain things, like, at the moment I'm worrying because I want to switch my QuickBooks from self-employed to sole trader. So I'm a bit anxious about that. But do you think when you're going through something like that, do you feel like it's amplified and you kind of micromanage it a bit more and you go into these much more detail into the do's and don'ts? Do you think that is what happens? I'm just trying to understand like where your brain goes with it.
Yeah, it's every little I need to know every little detail, and I need to know it now. I can't wait for the I can't wait for the information. I like doing the cash in, cash out system. I like having a book. I like handwriting it because it's me physically taking that ownership and accountability and monitoring it. My biggest worry, because I want to move to QuickBooks because I know it's going to make things a lot easier and obviously support with tax returns. My biggest concern with that is I have to now trust myself to have due diligence and to look at it daily to be able to keep control of that finance and keep in the loop and know exactly where my account should be.
Yeah.
Rather than at the minute the book tells me where it is, I can sit out, look at it and go, great, I know where I'm at, I know where my expenditures are, I know what's coming up. And with the app, I think because it's on an app, like every other app, like my banking app, I don't really check that. Don't tell Steve. I don't really check that unless I have to.
That means you've got too much money.
That's my fear. No, I really haven't. I wish I did. I really haven't.
When you get the QuickBooks app, because you probably will at some point, because everyone's going to have to go digital at some point. You know that, don't you? So when you do end up with that or whatever app or software you do get, I mean, I do end up going on QuickBooks almost daily. I think it's just like when you're running your business and you've got receipts to scan, or you've got receipts and bank transactions to match and join together. If you do that on a daily basis, then you don't get a build-up of stuff over a week or 2 weeks, because it's surprising. Over a week, you can have a ton of bank transactions just to check. You've got your mileage to swipe left and right on, and you've got all this stuff to do. So I do probably log on every day and just have a quick look what's outstanding, because you'll probably find it very, very simple once it gets going. And it's probably your mind sort of telling you that it's going to be more complicated than it is. But I reckon once you start on QuickBooks or whatever app you want to use, you won't look back and you'll be like, why didn't I do this earlier?
I think it's just again with autism, you really don't like change, and you like how the way you're set it, and it's almost this is the way I've always done it, so this is the way I'm going to do it, and that you're not going to tell me different, and how to overcome that and say.
I think I'm losing you, Lou. You're breaking up a little bit. Are you still there? Oh, there you go. You're back.
Hey, I'm back. Yeah. That'll probably be little man and his 6 tablets downstairs trying to watch the same thing at once, training my internet.
I honestly think you'll be absolutely fine. But like when you switch from like manual sort of written accounting, make sure you do it at the start of a new tax year, because it will make life so much easier.
That's where I forced myself that I'm going to make that change, and now I've had to set up for that change management. I think that was in December. I made the decision. That's what we're going to do. We're going to move over to that, and it's just reminding myself every month, this will be a lot easier when it's all online. This will be easier when it's online. And it's every time I do my books, I tell myself, this is a pain in the arse. Sorry, this is a pain in the backside. And this will be a lot easier when it's online. So it's repeating. Yeah. And then when it comes to April, it will be acceptance. And that's where I need to get to.
Yeah. When we were chatting before the podcast, you spoke to me about sort of what we've said before, like fear and anxiety about starting your business, but also you put in there learning from bad purchases. You feel like you've made some bad purchases on your way on the way?
Oh, good God, yes. Oh dear.
Go on then, talk to us about it.
Probably more than I wanted to.
We all do that. I mean, we all buy stuff that, ends up not being worth what we hoped it was worth, or it doesn't sell like we hoped it would sell.
I think I had one purchase I made, which was a wholesale box of shoes. First of all,
don't talk to me about shoes.
Not from that place. I didn't get it from there. And it went missing, and thankfully, the supplier was really nice about it, and they sent me another box. However, when the box came, it was more than the 10% I allocated, that it was going to be either damaged or fake. And that really annoyed me. And then it put my cost per unit up, because obviously I can't account for those now because I can't make an income on them. So, and then shoes didn't sell very well on Whatnot for me. So I was like, okay, women's clothing, it doesn't really sell well for me, which is a shame, because I have a lot of personal clothing I need to get rid of because of the weight loss. So it's simple things like that, but there have been ones where I thought, okay, this will turn out as very popular, like horror lanyards and pin badges and stuff. So that'll be popular, and obviously I'm fitting into kind of Steve's genre, because he's obviously with Big Steve on the movie chats, and I thought that'll fit into that genre, and we've got people that like that sort of thing, and they've been so slow, so slow. And I just thought it's money that's sitting there. It's when money sits there that annoys me. I think the only bad purchase I've had are with some cosmetics stuff, which I think I sold for just above what I paid per unit. And by the time Whatnot fees went out, I broke even. And I thought I had to change that again. It was like, okay, but at least it's not a loss. I can't too hard on myself, because it's not a loss. You've tried something different, you've got the exposure for it. But nope, the 2 boxes.
You're paying for your education, or you pay for your learning curve, don't you? Sometimes. I'm kind of the same with my buy it now section on my Whatnot page. When I first filled that up with stock, it went quite well. People were picking it up and buying certain bits out of it, like pin badges and little collectibles and stuff from films and TV and that. And then all of a sudden it just seemed to stop. People weren't buying from the Buy It Now store anymore, and it's like people weren't even looking. At one point, people were actually buying from my Whatnot shop in between shows, like going and finding stuff, buying it, and I was shipping stuff out via Whatnot when I wasn't even doing a show. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what's going on there, or if it's just because it's saturated now with that kind of thing, or maybe everybody's seeing what they want to see on there, and there's nothing else on there they want. But yeah, it's kind of like I've got this big load of stock there now that I'm just wondering like what to do with it, whether just to leave it there. But I've not put it down as a bad purchase, but it seems to have run its course on there now. So I'm kind of like, what am I going to do next with it? But rather than be like we've talked about some negative stuff, like have you had any good successes with buying stuff? Like, have you thought this has worked really well, I want to get more of that?
It's all of the men's clothing, really. Obviously, men's category seems to be my best performer. On Whatnot, on eBay, and I think we have one example. The best purchase that we made. I think Steve had gone out and done his little charity shop scout as he normally does, and he found this scientific calculator, and it was all boxed brand new. And I think he paid £1 or £2 for it. And I was like, why are you getting excited about a calculator? I mean, everybody's got a calculator on their phone or their laptop. He went, just list it and see. So we listed it for £25 and it sold, I kid you not, within 4 hours for the full asking. And I went, what? Like, hello? Who's needing a scientific calculator? And he went, I told you. And it's like, it's this magic thing that he knew. Yeah. But I think that had even though it wasn't the biggest sale ever, it was amazing that the turnaround was on it was so quick. It was unbelievable. But yeah, men's clothing is good.
More of those, don't you?
Yeah, I need loads of scientific calculators. So if you've got any, send them to me.
I do buy them when I see them. I do buy them. Yeah, they do sell pretty well, to be honest. Like uni students and college students still use them. Especially if you can do all those funny wavy lines and stuff on them.
I've just seen Oliver Ian say the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, that was the other one. He picked up the Seven Dwarfs, a full collection of the Disney plushes, and they were all still new with tags. So we listed it. Nice. I think for 120, and we took an offer for £99.99. Cool. And he got them for £3 each. And that was I think within a week, the turnaround on that. And I think I almost fell off my chair when that offer came through. I couldn't have accepted that any quicker if you'd offered it to me in my face straight away.
That's nice though, isn't it? It's good. It's good when you know something is worth it. It's a great price and you pick it up and you just know it's going to go really quickly. But it doesn't happen like all the time, but it is nice when it does happen. I've got a question here on YouTube from Wheelie June. Welcome, June. Question for Lou. Do you find procrastination a problem when you become overwhelmed, or are you okay with that?
Oh, that's a difficult one because it depends whether I'm in ADHD mode or I'm in autism mode. If I'm in ADHD mode, the procrastination it'll be until the last minute, and then I can hyperfixate and get it dealt with, and I'm okay with it because it works out brilliantly. But if I'm in autistic mode and I want to procrastinate, I'm in and out, and I can't seem to focus, but I want to focus, and then I get annoyed if somebody interrupts that focus, even though I'm dilly-dallying. So it does annoy me if I'm in autistic mode, but if I'm in ADHD mode, I work miracles. I don't know how. I still look back and go, how on earth did I pull that off? No idea. In general, I just wing it.
What puts you in sort of hyper ADHD mode? What is that? Because you've eaten some Haribos or something?
I wish it was. I wish it was that easy, because I just spend my days eating Haribo. I don't know. There's just a trigger. So you have ADHD hyperfixation and autism hyperfixation. And ADHD hyperfixation is when I leave it to the last minute and say, like this evening, 5 minutes before I'm meant to meet online with you, I need to get everything done, and I'm stood there getting annoyed because it's not, why is it not done already? And we only started it 30 seconds ago, and then everything goes fine. Autism hyperfixation is I am way in advance, I am planning in advance, I have got everything done, and I am ready to hit it. But I need what I call the zoomies to get me through the last part. So I need to switch to ADHD. I sound mental, don't I? I need to switch to ADHD to get me through the show. So on a Whatnot show, I'll start off with I'm focused, I'm calm, I'm autistic, let's get this done. And something will just give me the zoomies, and I will be like a dog chasing after a ball. I'm back and forth, and the energy is massive. And
I must admit,
I don't know why.
I have witnessed this. I have witnessed this on your Whatnot show. When you go absolutely nuts, it is hilarious. I mean, I'm not being rude or anything, but you do go crazy, and but it gives a lot of energy to the show, and I think a lot of people actually stick around because you're a lot of fun when you're on Whatnot, and that is half the battle. If you can make your Whatnot show a little bit fun, or a bit crazy, a bit nuts, and you definitely achieve that on a lot of occasions on Whatnot. It is good to watch. It is a good watch, and of course, it gets people involved as well. People have a laugh, and I'm not laughing at ADHD or autism or anything, but
no,
you know what I'm saying. It does get people involved. Yeah, it's funny. If anybody here has not, been on Whatnot, then go on Whatnot and look up Style Reclaim and wait for one of the shows to come on, and you'll know what I mean.
You could just sit and laugh. We don't mind. I don't mind if people have fun. And laugh, because I know you're not laughing at what's going on in my brain, because you won't know unless you're inside it, and it's a dangerous place to be honest. But you're laughing along and having fun. And exactly. And a lot of our viewers will stick right to the end, and just because I think they want to see what I'll do next, like stand on top of a piano stool to model a 2-piece set, because you couldn't see my entire body. So I thought I was going to fall off. I did that twice, and I thought it was because it was going to sell. It didn't sell, and it annoyed me because I'd gone to the effort. But in that moment, my brain went, model it, and I went, okay, that sounds fun. Let's do that.
Amazing. So is Whatnot your main platform, would you say, at the moment? Is that what your main focus is?
Right now, my main focus will have to be eBay, because I have to generate the clicks and the views and the watches, and I have to, because my higher value items are there. And although it'll take a longer time, I need that income essentially, because I don't want it to sit there for so long that it becomes in like a dusty bin, But Whatnot is my main source of the income at the moment. And there's been some items in my buy it now, like the reseller bundles, that have done pretty well without me doing a show. They just every other day I get a notification, you've sold a reseller bundle. Brilliant.
Oh,
okay,
that's what you want.
Yeah, I had to do a 8-hour round trip down to Wales to go and get my rest of my baby bundle stuff to be able to make up more, because I'd run out that quickly. I was like, I need some more. But yeah, it's the Whatnot is the main source for an income to cover the overheads, and eBay is my main source of the larger income. And then Vinted just ticks me over with a top up every now and again.
Every now and again, a sale.
Yeah.
You have the same with me with Whatnot. I have this love-hate relationship, and I go through phases with Whatnot. And one minute I'm like, yeah, let's get a show every week on it. And then the next minute I kind of drop off because I might have had a bad week or a quieter week than normal, or, because it's not easy doing Whatnot shows. It takes a lot of prep. It takes a lot out of you to actually do the show. Like if you're doing 3-4 hours, it takes a hell of a lot of energy out of you, mental sort of energy as well. And also afterwards, the aftermath of a Whatnot show can be horrendous. Not so much when you're doing clothing, but you can still have a hell of a lot of packing to do the next day. But if you're doing collectibles, figures, toys, that is a horrible aftermath. Even though you've sold a lot of stuff, if you've done a toy show, you're looking at like a 3-hour toy show. You're looking at 4 hours, 5 hours packing the next day, to get it all packed properly. So I have this love-hate relationship. Sometimes it's going great, and sometimes it's not going great. Do you find the same? Is this a common trait with people selling on Whatnot?
I hate. I love doing the shows. I hate the start where you have to kind of gear yourself up and there's nobody talking back. Luckily I have Steve talking back at me, but there's nobody talking back, and I find the lack of interaction a little bit hard sometimes. So I have to rely on, sorry Steve, picking on Steve, to kind of get me through it a little bit, and then to lift me up, and then the chat starts rolling in and we're good. I hate packing, not gonna lie. I hate packing, but because we're in the clothing category, it's usually pretty easy. It's pretty simple enough for us.
No,
it's not that bad. No. So I do have a love-hate relationship with it. The bit that I loathe in one sense is that in order to grow and grow quickly, you have to be consistent with the shows, and you have to replace somebody's soap opera, for example. So Whatnot Wednesday, we all knew you were on. We'd jump on, we'd watch you when we were just little buyers, and we knew you were on, and that was it. Wednesday night was sorted for the evening, the entertainment. And unfortunately for us, what I hate about our household sometimes is that that's not possible. It is not possible for us to be like every week we're going to do a Whatnot. It's unpredictable in this household as to whether Leo is going to settle, whether the medication is going to hit him at the right time to go to sleep, whether he's had a bad day, whether he's poorly. So we struggle to be consistent, which is why our growth will be slower. But I am totally fine with that. I don't mind.
That's the way it is. And that's just the way your family operates. And I think you probably have to just accept that and just be thankful that, you're able to actually fit it in, because it's amazing that, you have Leo to manage, and you've got Steve to manage as well, unfortunately. But you've got them two to manage, and you're still managing to do all this stuff as well. And if it means that you are not like every Tuesday, every Wednesday or whatever, then so be it. I think it doesn't really matter that much if you're not a specific day, but it's better that you can at least like say once a week or twice a week or 3 times or every day if you're a full-time Whatnotter, every day. Because there's some big channels on Whatnot that are consistent in they do a lot of shows, but unpredictable in that we don't actually know when they're going to come on. I mean, I'm pretty sure like John Luke and Charlotte, I mean, they're on almost every day, but I see them pop up at all different times of the day. But I guess when you get to a following like theirs, it probably doesn't matter when you go, because there's enough people to tune in.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. Again, like I said, I'd love to say we're going to do twice a week. The workload and the strain that we'll put on the family is too much, and I'm not prepared to sacrifice that. But one thing I need to get better at, which I do know I need to get better at, is scheduling shows in advance, so that even if I change the date on it and people can bookmark it and then come back to it or get an alert, I really need to get better at that. But we usually have a to and fro and a bit of a debate between Steve and I as to when we're going to do them, because it depends on who's doing a parcel drop off the next day in the packing. So there's always a debate.
I do that. When I set up a show, you can do it to multiply. Like you can do it to do I think you can do up to 10 like in advance or something like that. So I normally do the 10, but I'll set it at once a month. So I've got plenty of time to change the dates on them. And then people will go and bookmark them regardless of when the date's just an arbitrary date. It's never on that date. What I'll do is the next one that comes along, I'll change the date to the one that I'm going to definitely do. Like if I'm going to do one next week, that I'll probably change a date that's on June or something now, probably, and I'll bring it forward, but it's already got 15, 20 bookmarks on it. So that's what I do, and it's a pretty good way of doing it, I think. Talking about like managing. Oh, hang on, before we do that, let's just answer this question from Limelight Vinty on YouTube. Where does Lou keep all the stock? What's your stock management like?
Luckily we have a garage and it's in the plastic storage tubs dedicated for eBay, Vinted, and then anything unlabeled is whatnot. And the eBay stuff is usually, I pack it in the like plastic see-through bags that you can get, like t-shirt bags. So I like to make sure it's all protected and it's going to sit there, because it's going to sit there a while. So we have the garage. I've taken over the bottom half of the living room. We're fortunate enough to have a really massive living room. So it's in the bottom half, which is the whatnot / work from home desk when I'm allowed to work from home. And everywhere else. Everywhere, just everywhere.
Jeff says, some people think of ADHD as a handicap. I think of mine, self-diagnosed, as a superpower. Combined with my OCD, I can be hyper-focused on tasks. A bit anxious also, so it's not all great.
Yeah, and I think there's quite a few autistic people that will say the same thing about it being a superpower, because there are things that you will simply excel at beyond the average person. That sounds really rude, and I don't mean it like that, but no, beyond the average standard, if you like, the neurotypical person. There's things that we will excel at, but there's things that we just can't get beyond, or it might take us a while to do. But yeah, again, I do think I have I do doubt myself sometimes and say I'm not intelligent, but I do, and things like that. So again, that's a superpower. I totally agree with you.
So I was just going to say before I went into those questions, talking about family home life balance, with you guys are working full time. You've got a son, Leo, who also has autism and is non-verbal as well, isn't he? So it's very, very difficult to deal with. It's not easy at all. And then you've taken on the reselling. Now, from what I understand, what you said earlier, you've taken this on so that hopefully in the future, this will be an improvement to your family life. You know, maybe Steve can quit his job and do full time, and then you can move on to other things. But so basically you're planting seeds for the future, aren't you? So at the moment you may be having to work a bit more and lose a bit of that time in the evening, but hopefully it'll be better in the future. Is that how you see it? You know, how do you actually manage this home life balance and work and reselling?
Totally wing it. I'm not gonna lie. I totally, each day as it comes. But I would advice in now for it to pay off in the future, because if it makes Leo's life easier, it makes our life.
Right, I get you. We lost you. You still there? This is Steve going on YouTube.
I tell you, it's little man in it.
Get off YouTube. Stop watching Car Boot Chris on YouTube.
It'll be little man, and he's, like I say, he's multiple tablets watching the same thing, and Netflix going at the same time as well. But yeah, we already have the worries of is he going to talk? When is he going to learn to use the bathroom and be a little bit more self-sufficient? Will he ever live independently is another major one that we have. If the worst were to happen to both of us, who's going to take care of him? Because he's got a limited network. But it's one of those where you just try and build up that self-sufficiency. So if I've got a graft and I've got to work 72 hours a day, for example, which isn't possible, I know, but if I've got to work the 72 hours a day now for the next 3 years to make the next 30, 40, 50 odd years a lot easier, then I'm game. basically.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you know, no matter how you look at it, you know, it's going to be a difficult road ahead, isn't it? And if you can plan something into the future that might make life easier, you know, one of you potentially working from home at least initially could potentially help a lot, couldn't it?
It's one of those where I'm either going to ignore what the future may hold and bury my head in the sand and just do the same as I've always done, which is go to work, come home, go to work, come home. Or I'm going to face it head on. I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to make the decisions about how this future is going to play out. And I attack it straight away with it and go for it. And I think starting up the reselling business, and although it's been slow progress, slow growth, it does all right for what I want it to do right now and what I'm capable of doing. So I know that if I excel and I push a little bit harder and I plan a little bit more, then it's going to turn into what I wanted to.
Yeah. I think as a part-time reseller, I think it's absolutely fine to go at a steady pace, because what I did when I started as a part-timer was just to keep reinvesting, constantly reinvesting money that comes in, try and reinvest it in stock, in all the equipment that you need, you know, good lighting systems, you know, areas to take your photographs, proper computers to work on, cameras, all this kind of stuff. If you can do that while you're part-time, that will have a big knock-on effect later down the line, because you'll have already, you know, kitted out your business with its needs. And then if Steve were to, for example, go full-time, he'd be ready to go with everything. You know, he'd be set up. And I think it's absolutely fine to be like slow and steady as a part-timer, and just keep reinvesting. Because then you'll get to a tipping point where you've got enough stock and you've got enough income coming in from those listings that you can actually say, right, here's the tipping point now where one of us could drop a day at work to start with, drop 1 day or drop 2 days, perhaps go part-time at work, part-time reseller, and slowly move across like that. And that's kind of how I did it. And I think it worked pretty well. There are circumstances where people just go headfirst into reselling. There's nothing wrong with that either. You're forced to do it. But if you can help that, if you can avoid that, I think it's a better situation.
Yeah, and I know it just means at the minute we are polar opposites with the way we work. So we work 4 on, 4 off. So Steve will do 4 days and then I'll do 4 days. And we are like ships in the night, unfortunately. We just simply pass by each other. And then with the commitments of, I also part-time are in a band, and with the commitments of those and everything
You left
else.
that one out.
Yeah, Steve don't like me talking about it.
I've seen some of your band videos. They're very good. It's impressive. You can give us a tune here now if you want. Just don't get me copyright.
Yeah, no, I'll breach a copyright, so I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's about, like Steve says, it's about getting that time together as well. But and we want to have more of that, because although we sometimes we fight like cats and dogs, I don't like him and I want to keep him around a bit, so I should have to spend more time with him, shouldn't I? Really?
Yeah.
Don't say no.
I guess so. But yeah, I get it. You know, if you're doing opposites on your shifts, that's horrendous, isn't it? That's
yeah, and
good.
they're 12-hour days. By the time you've added in the transport, it's about 12.5-hour days. So, like I say, with the slow progress, I think for the first year, I said if I do anywhere between 0 and 5,000, I'm happy. If you do 10,000, great, because it keeps me under the top, the next tax bracket. Right, so I didn't want to be going into that one too soon. And to be fair, I'm within, I'm really well within my goals. So it's like, okay, this is going successfully for what I wanted it to. Okay, I'm not earning 90,000 a year. That would be fantastic, but it wouldn't, because then I'd have to pay VAT as well. So it's just about being realistic for me and reminding myself that there may be other people that are absolutely huge or that grow insanely quickly and they do so well, and it's great to see that can't suit for my life, so I will never be envious of that. It's nice, it's great to see it, and sometimes you go, I wish I could have that level of freedom and consistency to be able to do that, but I'm not jealous of it, because that's somebody else putting in the hard work, the effort, the time, and they're able to do it. I'm not able to, so I have to be realistic with what I'm doing. So slow and steady is good for me.
I like your honesty there, because sometimes we all look at what other people are doing and we all think, you know, why can't I have that? Or why can't I be that, you know, popular or good? Or, you know, why can't my following be as big as that? Or why can't my sales be as much as that? But then you have to stop and take stock and think, well, how many, you know, hours are they putting into to get it to that? And everyone's lives are different. We've all got different, you know, structures in our families, in our home life, in our free time. You know, everybody's so different. It's just absolutely pointless trying to compare yourself to someone else, because we're all just so different. All our businesses run differently. Oh, the different variations are endless. So I like your honesty. We're all there, but also sometimes you just got to bring yourself back down and just say, well, that's not me. That's them. That's not me.
And I'd love to, like, when I see, I'm going to say Andrew's name now. When I see Andrew posts about his accountability posts and how he's keeping himself in check in his sales, and I think that's amazing. You know, I wish I could have a success like that. And then brain goes, yeah, but be realistic. He's putting the effort into listing. He's got the inventory. He's putting the time and the effort in. You can't replicate that. And it's a different platform to what you've been focusing on. So you haven't focused on eBay because you've been focusing on whatnot and growing your followers there. So you can't realistically and justifiably be jealous of a success that you're not working towards towards, you know. I'm going to drop another one in. You and I are both aware of a seller on Whatnot, CTM. When I was, I think I was at 500 odd followers. She was on probably about 25, 30. To her, I was a big fish in the Whatnot field, and I wasn't. And I watched her struggle and not really get that many sales or do a £1 show. And so I helped and supported her and gave her a bit of chat and told her all the things that I would do if I was full time. And she took that on board and she smashed it. And what was nice about it is that she said, I'm not leaving you behind. With my growth will come your growth. And so we kind of grew together. That support is always there. But in the back of my mind, I go, okay, so you've helped and supported her. The strategies that you had clearly work. You are capable of doing it. You're capable of getting to 5k followers. You're capable of generating that income. It's just you haven't got the time. So I will not be jealous of that success because I've proven I can do it by supporting somebody, and that advice works. And she's flying. She's doing amazing.
Yeah.
But
She is.
I will never find that jealousy over that, because again, she's got the time, the effort, the suppliers, and she is putting in that energy. And I simply, I can't match that. So no jealousy, but yeah, I can see what I'm capable of. I just need to find the time to apply it.
And that's it. And, you know, if one of you were to go full time or put some more time to have more time to put into reselling, then you know what you can potentially achieve if you want to, when and if you want to do it. It's all about what your goals are, your long-term goals. And as long as you're working towards it, I think you're doing brilliantly. So just keep going.
It's interesting because, like I say, I would like Steve to take it over at some point so that I can then focus on where my absolute heart and mind lies, which is the management consultancy. But there's a lot of work to do there, and at the minute, with the changes with Leo, and we've experienced some new behaviours and things, it's not doable right now. we like the consistency of having the income, the employment income, and it's always there as a safety net. But I know that I'm very confident in his ability to pick up finds and to sell them for a very good price. He needs to work on his whatnot presentation skills and not smack me on the backside with a coat hanger. So I need to get him up to scratch with that before he went full time. But yeah, I think we could smash it in the future. Is him doing it full time?
That's it. Do you think if eBay came out with eBay live selling, do you think that's something that you would take up as well?
Definitely. I think for me, it would still remain the higher price items rather than the lower price units, because I'm used to searching things on eBay that are a good bargain, but I know that it's going to fetch a better price than it will do on Whatnot. So I'd use Whatnot for the bargain shows, if you like, and then eBay for the more elusive items.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So talk to me a bit about cosmetics, because you've gone into that area. Now, with that comes risk, doesn't it?
Yes.
Liabilities, insurances. So at what point did you pick up on the fact that, you know what, if I'm going to sell cosmetics, I probably need to have some sort of insurance? Where did that come in?
I looked at cosmetics, and I was looking at what else could I offer in maybe the buy now that people might do as an impulsive buy or a seasonal buy. And I thought, bath bombs, etc., that kind of thing. I didn't want to go with generic brands. So I went, looked at a family-run business, and I reached out to them and asked them, would you mind supplying to me? I explained where I was at on Whatnot, and they were like, yeah, great, we'd love to partner with you. Yeah, sure, no problem. And I went, okay, hold the phone though, because before I branch into this, I want to make sure that I'm covered. And it's the most important asset being the house, really, for me. I could lose my job tomorrow or the week after or whatever, and I'd know that I'd be able to still be in somewhere safe and warm, especially for Leo, and I could make an income out of something. To lose that would be absolutely devastating, obviously, and life changing. So as I am one with the business, and anything that I do places a liability on that business, I need to make sure I'm covered. And I refused to even launch the cosmetics until I had the insurance in place. Alongside that came with, I also wanted to exploit at, I say exploit, that's the wrong word. I also wanted to branch into offering staff exclusive at my workplace, because they allow pop-up shops. And so when there's seasonal events, it would be great to have that there and have that access. And because there's no conflict of interest, it's a good opportunity. But I need public liability insurance to be able to do that. So it was like, okay, I can future-proof some of these ideas by taking that. If I want to go to wedding fairs, if I wanted to set up a stall of my own at a car boot, although I would go business separate, and then Steve could have his own little stall of the stuff that he's not willing to let go of, but I tell him to let go of. Then it just means that once again, I'm covered, because whenever I put the business name out there, I need to protect both it and I, because we're one.
Yeah. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. It opens up other opportunities in the future, doesn't it? You know, craft fairs and stuff like that. You know, if you've got a good supply of goods, then potentially you could do all that stuff, especially in the run up to Christmases and things like that.
Yeah, and it's I think in I experience the world like we've discovered it earlier. I experience the world a little bit differently, and I notice patterns of people try and seem to get a discount or get things for free at the moment. It seems to be the trend that I'm seeing online a lot of. If we make a complaint, I might get a partial refund, especially on eBay. If I say that it's been delayed, or I'm going to leave a negative review, I'm going to get a partial refund. And so I want to make sure that there isn't a trick in the book that you can't play that I'm not covered against in one sense. And this is the overthinking side. And this will also be the negative imposter syndrome side kicking in, is saying, what if somebody has an allergic reaction? What if somebody doesn't follow that? So the overthinking is there going, well, I need to make sure I'm covered for at least the cost of the house and then some, so that they can't take that away from me. And then I even fret whether the amount that I'm covered for is enough. But I know it's enough. I'm not going to say what it is, because Steve will just buy an item and then complain and then sue me.
It's good that you've thought about that, especially with cosmetics, because I think it is important. And if you're going to do stalls and stuff, they always ask you to, apart from car boots, any kind of craft market, Christmas market, they all want you to have public liability insurance. So it's even worth having, just if you do a couple of those every year, you know.
Yeah, and I think it, like I say, it sits nicely into like that future growth options that we have. So, like we've said, we haven't got a lot of the time to do a lot of the shows at the moment. As Leo becomes a little bit more independent or a little bit more aware and can become more involved, more of those craft fairs and things will open up. So I am ready and primed for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I've got a couple of questions to take us to the end of the podcast, if you're ready for those questions. The first one for you is, if you could go back in time, even though you've not been going that long, but if you could go back into the short amount of time that you've been going and give yourself a piece of reseller advice right at the start, what would it be?
Embrace your fears, but go anyway.
Okay,
just do it. There is you can be scared about something for your entire life and not do it, and then you'll never know what you could have achieved. But just take that fear and let it work for you. And I think I took a long time to come around. Like I said, I think it took me about 2, 3, 4 years maybe to come round to the idea of reselling and getting over those fears. And I wish I had done it sooner, because at this point I would be further along and a bit more established. There is nothing wrong with being in my position right now, because I've just started that journey. So I'm trying to see, I'm countering in my head now that negative thought. It's like live action. Woo, you see it first. So there is nothing wrong with the position I am and the growth that I am right now. If I had done it sooner, I would be further along. Exactly. So if I look back, and I'd tell myself to just go ahead and do it anyway, because the worst case scenario is you make nothing, it doesn't work out, no problem, you tried, but you don't lose anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Fair enough. Good answer. Another question for you: if I was to give you £100 to spend on stock right now, what is your preference?
50 quid would go to Steve, and I'd let him go wild. And it doesn't sound like a lot.
For next to nothing, you get like stuff for like
honest
50p and then nothing.
Honest to God, when he comes back and tells me what he spent, like, and how much he got for it, I'm literally like, I swear to God, I could give you all my money now, and I think you would get me like a truckload of bargains. So
does
50 quid.
Does he have special friends over at the charity shops, like little old dears who he goes in?
I can neither confirm nor deny, and if he wants to use his manly charm, I'm all up for it for a bit of discount. Okay. That there you go, Steve. You heard it here. So
use and abuse that
use
charm.
And abuse. 50 quid straight to Steve, because I know that, like we've said before, he's very good at the movie memorabilia, the toys, the football shirts, and he manages to find a lot of weird fish clothing. Just pulls it out of the blue. So I know that 50 quid will go very far with him. And then 50 quid for me, scientific calculators.
I had a feeling that was coming back.
It will do. It's just how quick it just went, and for how much. I was like, I'll take that all day long. If that happens every hour, I'm not sniffing at £25 an hour. That'd be great.
No,
but yeah, scientific calculators, and probably the ladies' high-end stuff, but not the high-end designer where everybody thinks Gucci, Prada, yada yada. Not that. I find that No offense to anybody who likes that. I find that a bit of a cliche for me as a seller, because there's a lot of it available. I like your more demure brands, like Hobbs, although that's becoming saturated now. White Stuff is becoming a little bit more saturated, a bit more known. Joseph Ribkoff, there's not a lot of people that know about Joseph Ribkoff, I don't think. And
I think we've lost you. Are you there? Calling Earth to Lou. Earth to Lou.
Emma Baum. Oh, Leo, what are you doing?
You're back. You're back. There you are. It's okay.
There we
broke
go.
off
Leo,
at the critical point of you giving away the best brands.
The blah blah blahs, the blah blah blahs, and the blah blah blahs. There you go.
Yeah, don't ruin reselling by sharing all the best brands.
They're not necessarily the best brands.
And then we couldn't hear the rest.
Oh, that's okay then. That's fine. The secret's safe with me.
I've got a question from Wheelie June. Obviously, question for Lou. Obviously, you have the support of Wee Steve, but do you have other support from family and friends to rely on when needed?
We don't have a lot of friends, which is unsurprising.
I'm your friend.
I know you are, but you don't count because you're the one interviewing me. So not right now. Okay. We don't have a lot of friends. Obviously, I think the people that have been biggest in our corner from the beginning has been you and Belle. And it's just been just go ahead and do it. Just do it. Why are you waiting on it? Just do it. And the tidbits of advice, and we absolutely love it. And we're not just friends with you because of that, by the way. So yes, and obviously CTM is always in my corner, shouting me from the rooftops. So yeah, we get the support and the backing from some of those that's in the community. At first, and I don't know if she's watching, but and Steve and Lana. How could I ever forget about Big Steve and Lana? Yes, I meant them as a collective, though, Steve. So in my brain, it just went Chris, Bell, Steve and Lana all in one. So yeah, big shout out, Big Steve and Lana. There we go. So yeah, but from family wise, I think at first, if my mother is watching, sorry, mum, to drop you in it, she thought, what is this? Why are you doing this? Secondhand clothing? People won't buy that, and it was the usual kind of thoughts about it. And I think then when I explained to her about the Whatnot show and how well it went, and we'd launched a business and I've got business insurance and I do these other things, she went, oh my goodness. And she was taken aback by it. And now she gets me free stock, so I don't mind. I just got to drive down to Wales to pick it up. Right. So yeah, we've been met with the typical blockages, I would say, and the typical responses, and I ignore anybody else that says anything else about it, because why not?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, I think we are done. Thank you so much for coming on, Lou. I really appreciate you taking the time and also being so honest about everything that you have to deal with, all the things that you have to overcome just to get this going. And it's not been easy, but hopefully it's going to stand you in good stead for the future, like for your whole family. Yeah. And I appreciate you talking about your autism in the family with Leo and Steve as well. And that's not easy to talk about, and not everybody wants to talk about it, but I think it's important that we do bring it up because it's a big part of what you have to deal with on a daily basis, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I always think there may be people that are going through something similar and are living with some or all of it, and again might have gone through that thought process of shouldn't I, maybe I won't, maybe I'll fail, and I just go ahead and do it. Why not? You'll never know until you try it, and you'll regret not trying it. And I've just noticed that Steve's mentioned everybody else in the community and friendship groups that my brain has inadvertently forgotten about, because my brain's going, pressure now, you need to end the show and not look like such an idiot. So
That's
thanks,
all
Steve,
right.
for picking up everybody that I missed. See, that's why we work well together.
And he also says, "What's for tea?"
Whatever he can
Why
find in the
why
fridge.
don't he make it? You're busy tonight. Why don't that lazy
He's
get go
going
and make
to.
tea? Does he
He
ever
can
make
make
tea?
it. It kind of. He does a very good omelette. I'm not gonna lie, the omelettes are banging.
Mm.
Yeah, but otherwise, he's very good at oven-based foods. You put it
Right.
in, walk away, and then go and take it out.
Get some frozen chips and put them in the oven. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
really
obviously,
that's
since
tough.
I crossed over to the healthy eating mindset, he struggles to find something that's right for me to eat. So I will fair one on that one. He can stay.
Lou's gone again. Are you still there? Hello, calling Lou. She's going to come back. Just while she's gone, I'm going to say a big thank you to Fleek, our sponsor for Series 5 of the podcast. You can use the code RFD car boot Chris for a discount when you first sign up. Give them a try. I've got several orders ongoing at the moment. I've had one in. I've got another one on the way coming from Pakistan, as I mentioned in the video. And yeah, I appreciate it. Lou, thank you so much. Are you with us? Calling Lou?
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you if they want to find you on the socials and stuff?
I do have a Facebook page. I'm very bad at marketing, as you'll find out. Is Star Reclaim. Whatnot is Star Reclaim. They're the main pages that I will just shout out right now.
Instagram?
Yeah, because Instagram, I think, is Star Reclaim 24, I think, because somebody took my name. But like I said, the main one to get me on is Whatnot, because I'm very bad at social media marketing, and it's just another thing that I've got to master over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. We're all done. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it. And I wish you the best for your future business growth. And we'll see you on the next one. Next week, Master of Pieces. That's it for today's episode of the Everything Reselling podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, to follow, or to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.